Hey, if you're very familiar with my face and this sweater, you know I wear this a lot, okay? This is one of my favorite sweaters, especially during this time of the year. When it's cold, I love this sweater. I will literally wear it in every single video. You might think I'm making this long ass batch creation. I'm really not. I'm just really cold. But anyway, hi, my name is Sierra. Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a look back into the tips that I gave you all for writing over on my other channel. But this channel is gonna be specifically for writing, books, all that kind of stuff because I'm making new plans for the new year. So let's do what it is. All right, so the first thing I had in my video was how often should I write? And I tagged a blog post, KM Wyland, who said to like write every day, and like do it like however like it works out for you when it comes to like writing every day. So it could be something as little or as much as possible. And looking back on it now, because this video was like 10 months ago, I was watching the video. I'm like, ooh, girl. We don't even write every day anymore, because I was so hell-bent on being like, okay, I'm gonna write 3 times a week. And what I think happened was 10 months ago. 10 months ago today, I was working and I was trying to have like a very strict schedule when it came to writing. And now that I'm trying to get back into the workforce, but I'm also very much a creative right now, I do not write every day. I do not have a strict schedule when it comes to like writing every week or anything like that, or writing 3 times a week. It doesn't work for me. If it works for you, fantastic, great. Like if you really can like solidify, okay, I'm gonna write Tuesdays and Thursdays, cool, that works for you. If things happen on Tuesday or Thursdays, as long as you're lenient with being able to switch things up if things happen, because you know life is life and things are gonna happen. If you're lenient with that, then it's gonna work out for you. But for me, I was so hell-bent on doing 3 times a week that it just doesn't work for me anymore. I don't write every day. I write when my inspiration comes back, which might sound backwards because, you know, typically they say like write every day, even if you do a little bit, write this, write that. I just don't. And I feel like that has helped me more with not writing every day, purely because it felt like no matter what I was writing, everything was trash. And also I have other outlets. I have other hobbies. At the time, I wasn't doing those hobbies as much. I was like very like focused on like writing and trying to like get Leo and Dahlia like off the ground and like eventually get it published or whatever. Like I was really like focused on that, which wasn't bad. That was the goal that I had. But baby, looking back, I'm like, ooh, girl, you were ambitious. That's not a bad thing to be ambitious, but I'm gonna need you to like take it back a little bit. So for me, I love doing puzzles. So I still do puzzles. I like crosswords. I'm a grandma, okay? I like crosswords. I love puzzles. I love watching TV. I love talking about the TV shows that I'm watching. Like over on my other channel, I talk about Degrassi so goddamn much. Like I have so many other outlets outside of writing. So I feel like now with me as a creative, writing every day doesn't work for me because I have so many other ways that I express myself and express my creativity outside of writing. But if writing every day works for you, that works for you. If you can write 3 times a week, you can do that. If you could write only once a week, that's totally fine too. It's really all up to you, but that's just how my flow has changed. So this is kind of just like a recap for me, but also just saying like what works for you, because what worked for you 10 months ago might not work for you now. Things change, you've evolved, we're constantly changing, we're constantly learning different things. And just the flow is not always flowing the way it's supposed to flow. You know what I mean? It's overcoming writer's block, and there's so many tips on how to overcome writer's block. I went on into a few examples. I did mention like consistency and commitment to your characters and treating characters like your children, and very much like you have to pay attention to them. I completely disagree with that now. I disagree with that now purely because I'm tired of kids. I don't have any kids, but the sense of, it feels like you do have a responsibility to your characters, but you shouldn't. To me, that mindset can kind of be detrimental, because then you're not really giving the best version of you when it comes to your writing. For me now, like thinking about it, it's like you do have a responsibility to your characters. You're the one creating the story, but not all projects are finished, and that's completely fine. Like some projects just fizzle out, and that's okay. Like I actually had one story, Jesus Christ. I had a Penzu account. If you don't know about Penzu is like an online diary journal that you can do. You can put pictures, whatever. I would put my poems there. I put snippets of stories, really things I started writing but I never really finished. So there were a lot of characters in there that I had started and haven't finished. Like I started Leo and Dahlia on there, and that was the first version where it was just like moving a little bit too fast for me, and I took it off of there and I just like started to flesh it out a little bit more. And that's why I say like Leo and Dahlia is probably like on its like 30th revision. I swear to God. The current one I'm writing is vastly different from the very beginning. But I feel as if that type of space, it feels different to me now when it comes to that level of responsibility for characters, essentially, because there's characters that you're going to leave behind. So like I actually did have a story where I had a character in there and it just didn't work out anymore. But then when I started writing something else, I took that exact same character and I put that character in a short story. I got the same name and a little bit of the same background as her, but things got more fleshed out when I was writing this other story, which essentially is the show Must Go On, which was actually published through Dandelion Revolutionary Press over on Substack. So yeah, that's a character that was completely from a different story that just never got finished. So I feel as though, yes, you have a responsibility to your characters, but at the same time, your characters do fizzle out. It's kind of like the movie Inside Out, when Joy is getting out of like that, I think it's like the forgetful zone pit, where everything that goes in there Riley forgets as she grows up, and Joy was able to get out of there, but the imaginary elephant that Riley cherished as a kid just faded away. Like that kind of thing happens, I believe, for characters. Like there are characters that you are like, oh my God, I don't remember you. Like I don't remember writing you. But then there are other characters where you give them a second chance and you revive them, essentially. So things change. Like I wrote a story over on, oh my God, this was so long ago. This is actually probably, I think my third video over on my first YouTube channel. The book was over on, I forgot the name of the website. I'll probably put it up somewhere. But the book was called Gracie's Locket. Terrible book. God awful. I absolutely love it because it's so terrible. Do I remember any of these characters? Absolutely not. I don't remember anybody. I reread it for that video and I don't remember a soul. Like, I don't remember like who, I don't remember how the story even came about. I have no idea. And the story is so weird. It's so many tropes at the time thrown into one story, and I think that's where I completely fucked up at. So that's a case of characters that just faded into the background for me. And it's like, well, if I took them out and revived them, I don't think they'll be any better today. I don't think I would do them justice. I don't think they would be portrayed in a way that I want them to be portrayed. You know, it doesn't make sense. It's kind of like, I feel like the characters are also kind of like people. And if you try to mold them into something that they're not capable of being or capable of embodying, it's going to be off. Your story's going to feel off. You're going to feel like maybe this story's not clicking, and it might not be the plot. It might just be your character. You might just have a whole new character. So I feel like that type of aspect of responsibility for your characters is completely null and voided. I don't agree with that anymore. And And I did also mention that writing more can improve your writing skills. I disagree with that now too. And not to say that writing more won't improve your skills. It can improve your skills, but you have to learn the craft. And at the time when I made the video, and at the time when I was beginning writing, I did not learn the damn craft. I did one, what's the freaking word? Like writing conference. And I did learn some tips, and I think it was a good start. But I didn't know at the time about Save the Cat. I don't know if Save the Cat came out around the time when I started my YouTube channel when I made that video, or was that a little bit older? Because when it came to me joining the AuthorTube and BookTube, essentially, I've always been behind, essentially, because I come in later. I wasn't writing consistently when I was younger, so I really didn't know anything about the writing space. I didn't know about AuthorTube. I didn't know what was popular. I didn't know anything about like publishing industry like that. So I feel kind of like a fish out of water, essentially, jumping into two spaces that I was vaguely familiar with, but didn't really know like in depth of what it actually takes to be a writer and to be a booktuber, essentially. So with that, I feel as if like when you actually like learn the craft and take your time to do your research and learn, your writing does improve. Your writing does get better. Also, I feel like for me now, I'm in the boat of possibly taking like some creative writing courses online. I ain't got no money, so I'm gonna need them bitches to be free. Or at least like watching videos that will like hone the craft of writing, and also just getting back in writing in general too, because I'm 30. The last time I actually like wrote very well was in college, and I graduated in 2018. And even then, those were more academic focused. This is creative writing. This is a completely different thing for me. I haven't written like this in a long ass time. So I feel like it's going back to like essentially high school. And sometimes elementary school where it's like there's certain things that you just don't remember learning, or just how to formulate a sentence, how things work in a sentence. Because it's like, especially if you haven't done it in so long and you're as old as me, or even if you're older and you haven't consistently worked on these skills, if you went to completely different fields, that you lose that. If you're not constantly working on it, you're going to lose that information. And not to say like, oh, you're stupid, you need to start from kindergarten or whatever and learning what words are. It's just like certain things that just slip away. Like obviously we know how to form a sentence, but then there's certain things like when I'm writing, I'm like, does that make sense? And then I actually have to like remember, like, is this an adverb? Like the actual thing when it comes to like putting a sentence together, but also not being so strict to the rules, because writing is a craft. It is a journey. Everyone's writing style is different, creating my own writing style, but also respecting the basics of writing and how to formulate a story. So really, it's really just a lot about learning. I feel like you have to learn. And this, I don't mean to be mean, not really. But it reminds me of the Age of Scorpius story. The author, Milo Winter, their whole journey of being an expert in this specific world. And after watching all that kind of all that content about that author, it kind of ties into that. It's like you can constantly work on your writing, but if you're not learning the craft, if you're not actually taking the time, it's going to still be messy. You have to learn the craft, and you have to take the time to do that. You can't just put it out there, and when people say it's bad, be mad that it's bad. Like if you know it's bad, you know it's bad. But that's how you're supposed to learn. Like you could put out something, your first story isn't going to be great. It's just not. but over time you have to learn the craft. You have to do your research, and not to say you have to research every little thing, but you have to just be you have to constantly be willing to learn. You can't just think that you're an expert at something. You can't automatically think, oh, my writing is superb. If you have a specific writing style, you have a specific writing style. But when it comes to growing and learning, we're constantly growing and learning as individuals. And within this field of writing and just wanting to be published too, there's different criteria, there's different things that are constantly changing. Like, obviously in the publishing industry right now, they're pushing out a lot of these books that have so many grammatical errors, that have so many errors in these books, that people are pissed about these books because they're not to the best level, they're not to the best quality that they could be. So it's taking that time to learn the craft and take your time to actually like make sure the piece is as good as you can get it to be, and not feeling pressured from publishing industry. Like, if you have been signed, like, please just take the time. Like, if you have to extend your deadline, please extend your deadline, please, because I'd rather you write a really good book, and if it takes you a little bit longer, than getting a book that you wrote in 6 months and it looks like something you wrote in 2 months. Like, I want the story to be as well written as you want it to be well written, because these books are your babies. You have to put in the work for your book. All right, anyway. So some tips to help with writer's block that I have mentioned before, but I love listening to music. Maybe music might help you. I'm not sure if you love to listen to music or consume any type of media that way. Music, reading books, listening to books. That's another thing to help with writer's block. I did get a lot of help when it comes to writing something else, when it comes to my writer's block. Because at first, I literally was writing Leo and Dahlia, which is now called Ghost of You. I was writing that story for so long, and I published the first 16 chapters, I believe 16 chapters, over on my Substack, and I just stopped. Like, I didn't post for all of October. I didn't get any inspiration. I didn't get anything. I just didn't, I didn't want to write. I didn't know what to write. And so I was just stuck. And so I did see a video that mentioned, like, try writing something else. Anything else. Like, I mentioned in my video of, like, writing from a different perspective. I didn't think of doing that. I just didn't have anything in my mind to write that focused on my characters. And I was also before I started to really like hone my craft too, and really dive into what my story entails and what I really wanted to look like moving forward. But I really just started writing other stuff. I was on Instagram and I was scrolling, and I'm a spiritual person. Practice witchcraft. I believe in witchcraft. Learning about hoodoo, voodoo, like I'm that type of person. I want to learn so much about my culture, about my heritage, things that I have not had the privilege to learn, and also just learning about other deities too as well, because yeah, my beliefs are different. So doing that, when I was scrolling, there is actually someone I follow who practices witchcraft, and she actually had a circle and a pendulum and all of these different descriptions around, and being like, you know, jokingly being like, oh my God, trying to figure out who my baby daddy is. And immediately I was like, that would be a good novella idea. So like getting inspiration like that, like just little things I feel would help. And so I started to write that. I fleshed it out a lot more now, but like just writing that, I started to have so much fun with it. The characters were so real. The dialogue between them was funny as hell, because it's such a weird situation to have like your main character over a piece of paper where all the guys that she's hooked up with in the past few months, and she's using a pendulum to figure out who is the father of her child, because she doesn't know. And you can't find out till after the baby is born, essentially, until you actually do like a DNA test. So she's just like, oh fuck, I need to figure this out right now, because I don't want to get into some shenanigans. So that writing that was very fun for me, because it was very chaotic. writing The Show Must Go On was very fun too. Being able to take that character from the dead end story and giving her a whole new story was fun, and really just writing that piece too, because that was my first short story that I wrote. So that was very fun to do. Just focusing on one space for characters to actually grow and learn and develop a connection with another person. I felt like that was really cool to just like write that specific story. Yeah, it was fun doing that. And then I start to get other ideas too. And I'll just like write them down a little bit of what I would like to do moving forward. I did a few other short stories that I got some inspiration just to like write them. So like doing other projects too have helped. And then when I get back to Leo and Dahlia, I have a little bit of a better sense of where I want my characters to go and what I want to do with the story. Number 3, the importance of setting writing goals and tracking your progress. So I did mention, and I always will mention, there are tons of websites where you can track your progress when it comes to your writing. I mentioned it before in my video, but I try to use NaNoWriMo, but it didn't feel good because I wasn't hitting those numbers. It felt like I was underachieving and that I was just a bad writer, that I was dumb, I was stupid, that I couldn't focus and write, that I was lazy, all the negative things that I don't want to be associated with writing, because I love writing. And if it's something that I love doing, I don't want that negative association. So I stopped NaNoWriMo. But there are so many websites that you can do to track your writing progress if that's something that you want to do. I use Ellipsis, but I don't use Ellipsis anymore for tracking my word count. Like I used to track my word count essentially, and like have like a bar and like move it up like how much I've written each day. I was very the word is not statistical, but I was really like focused on the numbers of my progress, and now I'm not focused on numbers anymore. Like I feel like the overall arching thing that I just generally just like to keep in mind is the word count for that specific genre. So I did my research and I wrote it down in my notes of like what each genre typically is, like the word count, and I just leave it at that. And I just write. Now that I'm using Save the Cat, I can flesh out a story a little bit more with just like knowing like where the story is navigating, where the story is going, and I can move that pace, but I'm not focused on my word count anymore. That's not something I focus on. So when I use Ellipsis, I just use Ellipsis to write. Will I time myself? Sometimes, maybe. I don't know. It all depends on how I'm feeling, but I'm not focused on like the number of words that I have achieved so far. Like it's like, oh, cool, but I'm not so focused on it anymore. If that's something that you are really focused on, if you want to hit specific word counts, try out Ellipsis. There's so many websites. I'll pop them up around here somewhere. Anyway, but do what works for you, and focusing on my word count does not work for me. For me, what works now more than anything is my character development and the pacing of my character development. That's really crucial for me, because I used to move really fast, and now I'm trying to move in mind of how the story actually flows. So using the Save the Cat method and actually having my characters feel real versus trying to hurry up with a word count. At least that's what was going on in my mind. I don't know if that's worked if that's been a thing for anybody, but just sharing. Number 4, creating a writing routine that fits into your schedule. So I agree completely. Just like I said before, create your own writing schedule, whatever works for you. For me, I don't have a schedule anymore. I write whenever I want to, whenever I feel like it. And sometimes it just comes to me, sometimes it doesn't. But I just let it flow. Right now, I treat writing more like me as a medium, if that makes sense. So like if things come through, things come through. If things don't come through, things don't come through. I'm not gonna force something that's not there. And if I try to force it, I feel like the quality of my work is even worse than before. Like that's why I don't write every day, because then it feels like I'm forcing things out of my head that don't make any sense. And then I end up scrapping it. Then I'm like, well, that was a waste of words. Or like, it feels like if I'm pushing myself too hard to formulate something, then I'm forcing something that just doesn't work. Like, it needs, for me now, it needs to come more naturally and flow a little bit better with how things progress in my story. Like, do I get an idea and I put in my notes app? Absolutely. But then the next day I'll go to my notes app and I'm like, you know what? That doesn't really flow anymore with how I just started to write it or whatever. Or like, I'll be like, okay, I'll take this part though and not that anymore, because now we're navigating down a different aspect of the story, of the characters. So that's what works for me now, is just like writing down a little bit of what I have in mind. If it's like a scene or just like, yeah, a scene, dialogue between characters, like I do that now. Like if I just get a little inspiration, I'll just like put in my notes, but I don't harp on it too much for that to be the exact part in my story. Because then if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense when I write. Because when I get to writing, if it comes out differently, it comes out differently. And that's fine. If I ever feel like I want to go back to that note, I can. I'll leave it there for like 2, maybe 3 weeks. If I've moved on from that scene completely, entirely, and it just doesn't work out anymore and I don't think it flows, I will delete the note. That's why I'll just put in my notes app on my phone. And I'm not a really good technical person. Like, I typically like to write by hand, but even now I don't even like write my story by hand anymore, or like write down any scenes. I'll just like type in a little bit of something, and I can easily just like delete it. I don't have to like waste time writing it down. Like, if it don't work, it don't work. So that's just what works for me. And lastly, staying motivated during tough times in your writing journey. I was kind of harsh in my criticism, because I was like really focusing on like, oh, these characters are your children, you have to take care of your children, blah 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 blah, you got to keep them alive, and equating writing your story to Sims, which I kind of still agree, but at the same time don't fully agree anymore, because sometimes you need your story to breathe. And I'm not saying completely like forget it. There's some stories you're going to forget, like you started something and it just disappears, or you go back to the note, you're like, dear God, what did I write? Like, that does happen, but you need time for your story to breathe. I'm not saying completely neglect it for months on end, but that month off, that having October off from writing, oh, that was a breath of fresh air, because I feel as if I had pushed it too hard, the story wouldn't have ended up where I have it going in my mind now. And also with finding Save the Cat, I didn't buy the book, but I actually got it through audio through my library, but also the author has the beats up on her website. Like, I can actually add that link in the description box below. She actually like puts out the beats. And so I actually was at Northwestern. My boyfriend was working on his machine there. He works there, and he's an engineer right now. And while he was working on that, he had to run a test. It had to be like 6 hours long. I was able to actually just go to a website and just write down the beats, because I was like, I don't have the money for the book, but I have to at least find some type of access to this book, because I know it's going to help me, and I need to find this information somewhere, somehow. And literally, it's on her freaking website with all her books. And she's literally breaking down the beats there. So it's like an excerpt of her book, because obviously the book gives you more information. I'm still gonna get it eventually. I'm listening it to the audiobook, so at least trying to soak in as much information as possible. But before, I was able to find it through my library, through Audible audiobook. Libby. Before finding it through Libby, but just going to our website and writing out the beats, it has helped a lot. Like, I'll share a little bit of it. This video might be a little bit longer, but this part was very, very helpful with my story. Jesus Christ, where is my notes? Oh, here it is. So like, Jesus Christ. My bad, guys. My thing had reached its storage limit. Whatever. I think that was the universe's way of telling me to shut up. So, you know what? Go online, check out the beats yourself, buy the Save the Cat book. The author has different versions. Check them out for whatever you're writing. Start to focus on the craft. Create your own writing schedule. Do what works best for you without stressing yourself out, because if you're stressed out mentally, physically, emotionally, your story isn't going to be well written, and you're not going to give your all to your story and to your characters. So take care of yourself first and foremost. So until next time, stay magical. Bye. Oh, and like and subscribe too. Peace.